कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निधि नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. So we are discussing from the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So 13th chapter, 13th to 18th is the section of Jnana Yoga, in which Krishna is talking about how to live in this world and why he is explaining this Jnana Yoga after Bhakti Yoga. We discussed yesterday because this Jnana Yoga is a essential Jnana of Krishna consciousness, is essential to make ourselves philosophically strong and determined to practice Krishna consciousness. So that's why this Jnana, which is the Jnana of Bhakti, this is not the Jnana of impersonal Brahman. That is, this is not Kaivalya Jnana. Kaivalya means impersonalism. This is not Kaivalya Jnana, this is the Bhakti Jnana, Jnana which one acquires in the process of Krishna consciousness. So that is what Krishna will be giving in this whole section of 13 to 18 chapters. And we saw in this chapter, Arjuna asked a question. In one verse, he has asked so many things. He says, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetragyam Eva Cha Etad Vedetum Ichchami Jnanam Geyam Cha Keshava. O Keshava, O Krishna, please explain about 6 things. Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana and Geya. So Krishna has described that this Kshetra means the field of action. Kshetragya means one who knows this field of action. So there are 2 types of Kshetra and 2 types of Kshetragya. So this Prakriti is also a Kshetra, and Kshetra, our body is also a Kshetra. So this body is a subset of this material nature. The body also has same elements as the material nature. And there are 2 types of Kshetragya, one who knows this body. So we, the soul, knows only our body, but Krishna says, I am Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetresu. But I am the knower of all the kshetras. After this, Krishna describes about Jnana and Gyeya. So Jnana means to know knowledge, to have the knowledge of matter, spirit and controller of both. So in that, from 13.8 to 12, Krishna has described 20 points of knowledge. And amongst all these 20 points, this Mai Chananya Yogena Bhaktir Avyabhicharani. This is the most essential element which a devotee should aspire to develop. Mai Cha Ananya Yogena Bhakti. We have to aspire to, we should aspire to develop this unalloyed devotional service. Then after describing this Jnana, he describes about Gyeya, who is to be known. So there, first he describes about living entities and how living entity, they are bound in this material world. And there 13.21 and 22 describes how a living entity is bound in this material world. And before that, from 13.15, 16, 17, 18, he describes the qualities of the super soul. And then he says that living entity, then he starts the description of Prakriti and Purusha. In Prakriti and Purusha, he says there are 2 types of Purusha. One, Purusha is under the control of material nature. Purusha Prakriti sthohi bhunkte Prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sad asad yoni janmasu. So the living entity, a soul, because he is controlled by the material nature and he tries to enjoy this material nature, so therefore he comes under the modes of this nature, the three types of modes which control the living entities. And therefore, based on our desires, based on the association of a particular type of mode, living entities, they sometimes go to higher planetary systems, sometimes they go to lower planetary systems. So then Krishna says, apart from this Purusha who is under the control, there is another Purusha who is beyond the control of material nature, who is the controller of this material nature. And that is called Super Soul. Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti chapyukto dehesmin purushaparaha. So in 22nd verse, Krishna had described Prakriti Astho. So I'll just go back in this PPT. Yeah. So in this Prakriti Stho, this is about living entity, the soul. This living entity is in this material world bound by the modes. And he is Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu, based on the desires one develops, based on the conditionings he has, based on the actions he does. He sometimes takes birth in the higher planetary systems, sometimes in the lower species. But apart from that, there is a super soul. So super soul is Paramatma. He is Maheshwaraha. The living entity is Prakriti Stha, under the control, and super soul is Maheshwaraha. He is the controller of material nature. The Purusha, that is a living entity, he keeps on wandering Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu. But the super soul or Param Purusha or real Purusha, he is Purusha Paraha. He is beyond this material nature. He does not take birth because of bondage in this material world. And then he describes, Krishna says in 24th verse, one who attains this knowledge of Purusha, Prakriti and the three modes, he attains liberation in this material world. Na sa bhuyo abhijayate. So in this 23rd verse, Krishna talks about Paramatma. And there are few other places Krishna mentions about Paramatma. Once it comes in the 18th chapter, 61st verse, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Riddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. So that is about Paramatma, Ishvara residing in the heart, region of heart of every person. Here also Krishna is saying, Paramatmeti Chapyukto. That Paramatma, that person is called Paramatma, residing in everyone's body. And then after 24th verse, Krishna says, apart from this, now Krishna will describe the means by which one can come out of the entanglement of the material nature. And we discussed, Krishna has given in 25 and 26th verses, all the four ways of various yogas, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So 25th verse describes about Karma, Jnana and Ashtanga Yoga. Dhyanen Atmani Pashyanti. Dhyanen means some people, they see this super soul, realize this super soul by the process of Ashtanga Yoga. Anye Sankhyena Yogena. Some people, they realize the super soul by the process of Jnana Yoga. Karma Yogena Chapare. Some people, they realize through fruitive activities. So three processes to realize the soul is given by Krishna in this verse: meditation, Sankhya and Karma Yoga. Then, and Prabhupada in the purport, he writes that, there are others who try to understand the super soul by cultivation of knowledge. There are others who cultivate Hatha Yoga and try to satisfy the Supreme by the childish activities. So Prabhupada is very heavy in the purport where he is calling Ashtanga yogis to be childish. So why he is calling Ashtanga yogis to be childish? Because children, they compare the various different asanas. Sometimes if two small children, they are doing something. So if one child does something extraordinary feat, some difficult asana, so other also, they have this mentality, I'll copy him, I'll do better than that person, so that I can become more famous. I can tell others I can better than him. This is the mentality of the Ashtanga yogis many times. They want to do so many feats so that they will impress others. As Prabhupada tells a story, there was once a yogi living in the Himalayas, and whole year he would stay in a cave, would not meet anyone. Once a year he would just come down, and for one day he would stay under a tree near a village, and all the people, they would come, they would offer obeisances, offer respects, and that is his delight. That was his delight. Every year, to get the name, fame, prestige, for one day he would struggle for 364 days there in the Himalayas. So once it so happened that this person, he did not realize the count of the days. He came one day early, and as he came that day, he saw that there is nobody. So he was confused, that I am here and nobody has come. So then he thought, maybe they are coming. So let me climb the tree and see. So he climbed the lowermost branch. Nobody was there. He climbed higher, then higher, and he reached the highest branch of the tree to see if somebody is coming to meet him. But the highest branch was so weak that it broke, and this person fell down and he died. So this is called Ashtanga Yoga. That's why Prabhupada is calling childish. Many times these type of yogis, they do so many yogas, they have mystic powers so that they can impress people. Krishna is not impressed by mystic powers. Krishna is Yogeshwara. Therefore, Prabhupada is talking these activities as childish. And then in 26th verse, Krishna recommends the process of hearing, the simple process of bhakti yoga. And there he says they are Shruti Parayana. So the process of bhakti is very, very simple. Only thing we have to do is we have to be dedicated to the process of hearing. That means we have to hear and we have to try to follow in our lives whatever we are hearing. If we are just hearing and not applying in our lives, then it is Shrama eva hi kevalam. If every day we are coming, we are taking our time to attend Bhagavad Gita classes, and then after we complete this Bhagavad Gita, and if we don't apply it in our lives, then it is like Shrama eva hi kevalam, useless waste of labor. So with all the study of the scriptures, we should have this. This is the transformational knowledge. This is not information. This is for transformation. This knowledge should transform us. This knowledge should make us closer to Krishna, bring us closer to Krishna. That's why Krishna is recommending this process of hearing, bhakti yoga. And then after describing this, now Krishna has answered almost all the questions, and then the rest of the chapter Krishna is just summarizing, and he gives the overall view. He expands a little more on some points, and there he says in 27th verse, he says, "Oh Arjuna, I have described you so many things, but you should understand all entities are combination of Purusha and Prakriti. Whatever you see in this world, moving and non-moving, everything is happening because of the combination of Purusha and Prakriti. And whoever has this type of vision, O Arjuna, what will be the result? There are two results he'll get. First is he will be freed from liberation, freed from the bondage of this material world. He'll see things as they are. He'll see everyone with equal vision, and he will not get degraded. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram. One who sees Paramatma in everyone's heart, vinashyatsu avinashyantam, that person, he does not degrade himself. Yah pashyati sapashyati, and he is the actual seer. And in 29th verse he says, those persons, those people who see super soul everywhere, na hinastyatmanatmanam, he does not degrade himself by the flickering nature of the mind. Tato yati param gatim, and he for sure approaches the highest destination. So therefore, when this person who has developed this knowledge of soul and super soul, Purusha, Prakriti, Kshetra, Kshetragya, the result is things of this world will not trouble that person, and he'll see super soul acting in each and every living entity, just like Parikshit Maharaj. When Shringi, a small Brahmana boy, cursed him. Parikshit Maharaj was the king of the whole world, and Shringi was a small Brahmana boy. But out of his foolishness, Shringi, he cursed Parikshit Maharaj to die in 7 days. It was out of sheer anger. But Parikshit Maharaj, he took it as the mercy of the Lord. Tamopayatam pratiyantu vipra ganga cha devi dhritachittameshe dijopasrishtam kuhakastakshako va dashatvalam gayata vishnu gatha. He gave up everything, went to the bank of the Ganga, and all the sages they came because the king of the whole world has renounced the kingship. Everybody came. Sages from all over the planet, universe, they came. And Parikshit Maharaj, with folded hands, he says, "O sages, please keep on singing the glories of Krishna. Let that mystical bird which is created by that boy of the sage come and bite me. I don't care. You just keep singing about glories of Krishna." Because Parikshit Maharaj had this equal vision. He was seeing super soul acting in everyone. So therefore, we have to see things from devotional point of view always. Whenever things are not happening according to our will, whenever there are some calamities which are coming, we have to see things from spiritual perspective, from devotional perspective. Just like when Duryodhana, he insulted Vidura. He said, "You are the son of a kept mistress, and because of your whole life of service, the only reward I am giving you is I am leaving you with your breath. Just get out of this palace." And he threw him out of the palace. But Vidura, because he was connected with Krishna, he had this vision, Jnana Chakshu. He has this vision of knowledge. So Bhagavatam describes his response. He says, "Saitham atyul vanakarna baner bhratuh purah marma sutani topi swayam dhanurdvar nidhayamana." He says, this when Duryodhana, he spoke all these harsh words, it was like Karna Baner, the arrows which are shot through the eye, through the ears. But Gata Vyathoyat Urumana Yanah, Vidura, he understood. All this is orchestrated by Yogamaya. Because Vidura, who was Yamaraj, he always wanted to go to pilgrimage places. But in his whole life of serving Kauravas, he could not go. Now Vidura understood, okay, this is plan of the Lord. Yogamaya is working on me so that I can go out of this place and take holy places, take darshan of all the pilgrimage places. So that is how we have to see things. That is the result of such a mature vision. We won't be degraded by the problems of this world. We will be focused. That is what all the saintly personalities, all the devotees of the Lord in the Bhagavatam are telling us. So many problems came in the life of Pandavas, Parikshit Maharaj, you name it, and they suffered a lot. We have to learn how to respond to the problems in a devotional way, because that is the only way by which we can become Krishna conscious. Otherwise, mind will give so many other options. Mind will tell us, you interpret this problem in this way. Mind will say, you are devotee of the Lord, but still so many things are happening to you. Better give up this process of bhakti. So mind will say so many things, but if we have this Jnana Chakshu, vision of knowledge, then we will not be degraded by the mind. Na hinasti atmanatmanam. So therefore, we have to understand everybody has, uh, everybody has to take advantage of this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and see things from devotional and spiritual perspective, like that. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, if one understands that Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of Supreme Personality of God in every living being, he does not degrade himself by such a destructive mentality. So what is that destructive mentality Prabhupada is talking about? That mentality which does not allow us to take shelter of Krishna. So therefore, by this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, this Jnana Chakshu should help us to take shelter of Krishna. And then Krishna describes the true seer's vision about Jiva and Prakriti. So this is also important verse which should be understood properly. Prakrityeva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvashah yah pashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. So this person, how he sees this nature, he sees that all activities are performed by the body, prakrityeva, which are created by material nature. The body is created by material nature. So all the activities which are done, they are done by the body. And body is a product of material nature. So this person is actually the seer. So Prakriti is the doer, and we have discussed about 3 types of doer earlier also. Jiva is also a doer, material nature is also a doer, and Supreme Lord is also a doer. The Jiva, we are the initiating cause, Super Soul is the sanctioning authority, and the material nature is the facilitating cause. The responsibility lies on us. So it is not that because Prakriti, this body is coming from Prakriti, so the whole onus of anything is done is on Prakriti. No. We are given that free will by the Lord. Free will is the only property which is not taken away by the Lord, which belongs to us, and it is up to us to decide to do right things or the wrong things. So this verse is not a justification for people to do wrong things. Oh, this is done by the nature. No, this is not done by the nature. The desires, who is the desirer, as second chapter describes, na kama kami, who is the desirer of the desires. We are the desirer of the desires. We have so many desires, and to fulfill that desire, Super Soul is sanctioning and material nature is facilitating. So the onus is on us. So therefore, whatever conditionings we cultivate in this life, we act according to that conditioning. So it should not, so this verse should not be seen in an opposite way. Say, oh, I am lusty because that is my nature. No, there are some conditions in which a person is put, and based on our acceptance of those conditions, we either grow, we either make a right decision or a wrong decision. So it depends on our free will. The circumstances will be always there, but we have to take a proper decision. So that is what Krishna is saying in this verse. Prakrityaiva cha karmani. The person who sees that everything is done by material nature, that person is actually the seer, because he understands whatever nature I have, this I have acquired from my previous life's activity, and I have to act according to that nature. I had discussed earlier also, Vasana and Swabhava. So in this verse, Krishna is talking about our Swabhava, which cannot be changed. But the Vasana should be transformed, should be purified. We have to purify our anarthas. So therefore, we cannot justify our wrong actions. And then Krishna says, this person, because he sees everywhere the super soul, therefore he is the non-doer and he is not entangled. So 32nd verse describes that the soul is non-doer and he is not entangled. Then after this, in 33 and 34th verses, Krishna describes how the soul is not entangled and how the soul is not mixed. So there, 33rd verse, Krishna says, Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyad akasham nopalipyate sarvatra vastito dehe tathatma nopalipyate. He says, just like there is a sky and the air does not mix with the sky anytime. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyad. Air is everywhere, but it is not mixing with the sky. Similarly, sarvatra avasthito dehe, the soul is all pervading in this body, but soul does not mixes with the body. The Brahman is different from the soul, or Brahman is different from the body. And then in 34th verse, he says that the soul illuminates the entire body by consciousness. And he gives the example of sun. Just like the sun illuminates the entire world, similarly, the soul illuminates the entire body. Then in the last verse of this chapter, Krishna describes the Falashruti. Who knows this knowledge of Kshetra, Kshetragya, what will be his destination? Kshetra, Kshetragyayor evam antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye viduryanti te param. So Kshetra, Kshetragyayor evam, those who have this eyes of knowledge, jnana chakshusha, they see the difference between the body and the knower of the body. Kshetra means the body, Kshetragya means the knower of the body. And they also understand Bhuta Prakriti Moksha. They also understand the process of liberation from this Bhuta Prakriti, liberation from this material nature. Ye vidu yanti te param, they surely attain to the supreme goal. Therefore, Prabhupada writes in this purport that the purport of this 13th chapter is that one should know the distinction between the body, the owner of the body, and the super soul. One should recognize the process of liberation as described in verses 8 through 12. Then one can go to the supreme destination. So Prabhupada is talking about one should know the Kshetra, Kshetragya, one should have the knowledge. So if we have this knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetragya and Prakriti, then one can reach the supreme destination. And that is how Krishna ends this 13th chapter. Now, if we remember in 13.22, Krishna described that living entities in this world, they take birth and death due to association with the modes of nature. Purusha prakriti stho hi bhunkte prakriti jan gunan karanan guna sangosya sad asadyoni janmasu. Because of the association with the modes of nature, living entity takes birth either in the upper species, higher species, or the lower species. So this bhunkte means the desire to enjoy. The conditioned soul, they have the desire to enjoy this material world, and that is the cause of bondage in this material world. So therefore, in this chapter, Krishna explains the mechanism of the modes, because the modes bind the person. So what are these modes? How they act? What are the different types of modes? This is explained by Krishna in this 14th chapter. So Krishna has not described about the modes till now in detail, and therefore in 14th chapter Krishna starts the description of the modes. Now before explaining this mode, Krishna again glorifies this knowledge in first and second verses. He has glorified this knowledge in 7th chapter also, 9th chapter also, 10th chapter also. Again and again Krishna has glorified this knowledge. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyam sheshatah yajgyatvaneha bhuyonyajgyatavyam avashishyate. 7th chapter he has said this. 9th chapter Rajvidya Rajguhyam Pavitram Midamuttamam. So again and again he has glorified this this knowledge. Now again he will glorify this knowledge. Krishna says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Paramboya Pravakshyami Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam Yajgyatva Munayah Sarve Param Siddhim Mitogatah. Param Bhuyaha. Krishna saying, again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom. Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam. Supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge. Yajgyatva Munayah Sarve, knowing which the sages, all the sages in the past, Param Siddhim Mitogatah, they have attained perfection. Why Krishna is saying Bhuyaha? because Krishna has not described this knowledge of modes earlier. Why Krishna is saying, I will describe you again? Because this knowledge is related to the knowledge of bhakti. So knowledge which is helpful to understand this process of bhakti, that anything which is related to this knowledge, Krishna has described many times from 7th, 8th, 9th chapter. All these chapters, Krishna has repeatedly glorified devotional service again and again. So therefore, in this chapter also, 14th chapter also, we'll see that Krishna will glorify devotional service. Jnananam jnanam uttamam. So this knowledge is the best of all the knowledges. And yajñatva munaya sarve. Why munaya? Not bhaktah. Because in this chapter, in this section, Krishna is focusing on the jnanis. How jnanis can also come to the process of devotional service. So Krishna is talking about munaya. Because devotees, they don't need any analytical understanding. They don't have to go into the details of all this flow of scriptures and what does Veda mean. They have to follow the simple process of hearing. 13.26 Krishna had said, Dhyan anye tu evam ajananta shrutva nebhya upasate. So bhaktas, they don't have to become so much analytical and technically oriented to understand process of bhakti. Bhakti is simple. But in this chapter, in this section of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking about jnanis. So therefore, Krishna is using the word term munayaha. Yajñatva munayah sarve param siddhim itogataha. It's like that. Then in the second verse, Krishna says, Idam jnanopashritya mama sadharmyamagataha sarge pinopajayante pralayena vyathanti cha. Idam jnanamupashritya. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, mama sadharmyam agataha. One can attain the transcendental nature like my own. So Krishna is saying, by practice of this knowledge, one can come out of this bodily conception of life. One can realize, I am not this body, I am soul, Satchidananda. That is the same nature as Krishna. So mama sadharmyam agataha. So when one comes out of this entanglement of the modes, then one actually realizes, who am I and what is my dharma. Dharma means that which never changes. That is the innate characteristic of a living entity which never changes. Just like dharma of salt is to be salty, sugar is sweet, fire is hot. Fire can never become cold. Sugar can never become salty. Similarly, every one of us, we have a dharma. Dharma means that is the innate characteristic of a living entity which never changes. And that is Jivera Swarup Hoye Krishnera Nitya Das. We are always servants. We are serving our family. We are serving our body, our family, our society, our nation. We are serving humanity. Nobody can say, I am not serving anyone. And Krishna is saying, whoever understands this knowledge, that I am not this body, I am soul, he actually understands realizes his own dharma of serving God, because that is the innate nature to serve. And because we are not serving Krishna, we are serving so many of the other people in this world. Sarge apinopajayante, and therefore, knowing this knowledge, he'll be liberated. He'll not take birth again after getting delivered from this body. So that is what Krishna is saying. Then Krishna says, after glorification of this knowledge, now he starts the description of the relationship between the Jiva, Prakriti and himself. He describes what is the relationship between the Prakriti, me and the living entities. What is the relation? He says in third verse that Mamayoni Mahad Brahma Tasmin Garbham Dadhamyaham Sambhavat Sarva Bhutanam Tato Bhavati Bharataha. So he says, Mama Yoni Mahad Brahma. So I am the source of this material creation. Mama Yoni. So from my, it's like Yoni means the source of birth. So I am the source of creating this material world, material nature. Tasmin garbham dadhamyaham. It is that Brahman which I impregnate with the living entities. So therefore, Krishna is the father. Krishna impregnates the mother nature with all the living entities. And that is what Krishna describes in the fourth verse also. So Prabhupada in third verse purport, he writes that, there are some people who say when they see that there is a scorpion which is coming out of the pile of rice, so they think rice is the cause of production of these scorpions. But the actual cause is there is a mother scorpion, she had laid eggs in that pile of rice, and from that the eggs they hatched and the scorpions came out. But the person who is ignorant, he thinks the rice is the cause of production of scorpions. That is what people in this world they think this material nature is coming on its own, and there is no creator behind this material nature. But Bhagavad Gita and all the scriptures, they are saying again and again that seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the living entities which are coming from this material nature, they are actually coming from Krishna. Apparently the source may be material nature, the source of material nature and the source of living entities all are Krishna only. For an ignorant person, he thinks because the living entities are coming from material nature, that means material nature is the source of creating this living entity. Intelligent person, he understands, no, Krishna is the seed giving father. He puts the seed in this material nature and the living entities, they take birth. That is what Krishna describes in the fourth verse. Sarvayonishu, very very famous verse it is, where Krishna is describing, I am the seed giving father. Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtayah sambhavantiyah tasam brahma mahadiyonir aham bija pradapita. So he says, O Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, understand that all species of life, they are possible by birth because I am the seed giving father. So it seems that third and fourth verse, they are saying the same thing. Third verse also says, I am the seed giving father. Fourth verse also is saying the same thing. But there is a difference. In third verse, Krishna is emphasizing on Mama Yoni. Fourth verse, Krishna is emphasizing on Sarva Yonishu. So third verse, Krishna is saying, I am the source of all these created beings. Fourth verse, Krishna is putting emphasis on all the species. All the species, they come from me. So in one sense, Krishna is saying the same thing in two different ways. Krishna is repeating things so that nobody can take it otherwise. So that is what Prabhupada is also describing in the purport, that it is Krishna's seed giving process. And Prabhupada describes how this material creation comes from Krishna. From Krishna comes Mahavishnu. From Mahavishnu comes Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Then from Garbhodakshay Vishnu comes Brahmaji. And from Brahmaji, there is whole creation of this material world. After describing this, now Krishna explains the three modes of material nature. So there Krishna says, Sattvam Rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhavah nibadhananti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. So Krishna is saying, Sattvam, Rajah and Tamaha, goodness, passion and ignorance. These are the three modes of material nature. Gunaha prakriti sambhavaha. Material nature consists of these three modes. And what does this material nature with three modes do to us? It binds the living entity. Nibadhananti mahabaho. The living entity becomes bound by these ropes of modes. Dehe dehinam avyayam. And he becomes conditioned. So we'll understand what are exactly the modes. Are they some physical things or are they just concepts? Are they actually existing or it is just a conceptual thing to tell our conditioned nature? Actually, they are not just concepts, they are things, but they are not gross things, they are subtle things. So modes are the subtle forces that shape our interaction between the gross and our soul, gross matter and the soul. How do they interact? They interact through the agency of the modes. Different people have different modes working on them. For example, if in a movie theater somebody is watching a movie in the theater and the theater catches fire, so different people react in different ways. Some may run over others to escape, somehow they want to escape, mode of passion. Some may be completely stupefied, stunned, petrified, they are in the mode of ignorance. And some people, they look out for fire extinguisher and they call police or call fire brigade. They are in the mode of goodness, and we'll see these type of people everywhere. Prabhupada tells a story. So one time the king, he announced that all lazy men in his kingdom, they can come to the king's house and he will feed everyone, all the lazy people. So all the lazy people of the kingdom, they came, hundreds of people came, and they were in, and everybody said, I am a lazy man, I am most lazy. So the king, he put all of them in a hut, and he told his minister, you light this fire, light fire in this hut. And so the king minister was surprised. Why you are saying like this? He said, don't worry, you just wait. So the house was on fire, and as people, all the lazy people, they saw the house is on fire, everybody immediately became active, started running everywhere, trying to escape from that place. And almost everybody left, but two were remaining. So of these two, one man said to other, my back is becoming very hot because of this fire. Other man said, just turn over to the other side. The king realized these two are actually lazy people, feed them. So that is how the different people are in different modes. So there is a typical type of mood which is induced by the three type of modes. So look at that also. So the person who is in the mode of ignorance, it is very difficult for him to decide. To take decision is very, very difficult for a person in the mode of ignorance. We'll see some people, they cannot decide things. They cannot think clearly. They cannot act decisively. We should understand it is the mode of ignorance which is acting on them. There are some people who are in the mode of passion. They act without thinking. And after thinking, after acting, they think, yes, kyu kiya maine? So they are very, very quick in action, but they don't think how the things should be done. That is the mode of passion. The person who is the mode of goodness, he introspects. He thinks carefully, and he finds out the way how a particular thing should be done, and then he carefully implements that. So that is the person in the mode of goodness. So ignorance, passion, and goodness. Beyond that, there is transcendence, which is gifted by the gifted to persons who are practicing this path of Krishna consciousness or path of spiritual life. They are beyond the modes of material nature. They are completely acting under the will of the Supreme Lord. And Krishna will describe about these people in the end of this chapter. So in short, the person who is in the goodness means contemplative and active. The person contemplates and acts. The person in the mode of passion, he is simply active. He does not think, just acts. The person in the mode of ignorance, he is neither contemplative nor active. As it is said that there are some people who see things happen, some people who see things happen, some people I forgot. And last is some people wonder what happened. Some people make things happen, some people see things happen, and some people wonder what happened. So these are the three people in three types of modes. Some people who are making things happen, they are thinking and they are working. Some people are just seeing this. They are so much absorbed in just doing things, when actually it is their time to work, they are not able to do anything. And some people, they are in so much in the mode of ignorance, they are not even able to realize what has happened. So now we'll continue, and now Krishna, he starts the description of three modes of material nature and how it binds a living entity. So basically, either somebody is in mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. All three are bondage. And Prabhupada gives the example of chain. A prisoner may be bound by a gold chain, iron chain, or a copper chain. Gold chain, copper chain, or iron chain, silver chain, or iron copper chain. So chain is chain, but still a living entity is bound. So now in this chapter, Krishna describes how people are bound by the modes of goodness also, passion also, and ignorance also. So how does mode of goodness bind a person? Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakam manamayam sukha sangena badhanati jnana sangena chanagha. Tatra sattvam, the mode of goodness, nirmalatvat, it is purer than others. Prakashakam, it is illuminating. Anamayam, it frees one from sinful reactions. People who are in the mode of goodness, they never ever go against the scriptural rules and regulations. They are contemplative. They are very, very cultured people. Sukha sangena badhanati, and because they do not break the laws of nature, they don't suffer their karmic reactions. Because they don't break the laws of nature, they are doing all good work. So therefore the result is, if you are doing pious activity, you will become happy. So therefore this mode of goodness binds a person to happiness. And jnana sangena chanagha, and because the person who is in knowledge, he can think properly, he acquires knowledge. Person in the mode of goodness, he can acquire knowledge. And that is the bondage by sattva guna. And Prabhupada writes, the best example of these type of people are scientists, philosophers, and poets. They are people in the mode of goodness. There are scientists in the mode of passion and ignorance also. But basic quality or basic mode of scientists, philosophers, and poets are, they are thoughtful, they are contemplative, and they try to follow the laws of nature. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, repeatedly one may become a follower, one may become a philosopher, scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. So even if somebody is in a mode of goodness, he will be bound by the actions and reactions, bound in the cycle of birth and death. Then what is mode of passion? Rajoragatmakam viddhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tannibadhanati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. This mode of passion, this gives rise to trishna sanga ragatmikam viddhi. It is born of unlimited desires, trishna, unlimited desires and unlimited longings. As there is a Bollywood song, Chand Tare Tod Laun, itni sari ichha hai, he wants to get everything which is there in this world. And because of those desires, what happens? Tannibadhanati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. So to fulfill those desires, this person runs everywhere. He is engaged in lots of activity. So therefore it is described, Ashanam hi manushyanam kaschit ascharya shrinkala baddha sarva pradhavanti mukta tishtati panguvat. So the person in the mode of passion, he is bound by the chain of desires. The desires are unlimited. And to fulfill those desires, he runs everywhere. So therefore, that is the person in the mode of passion. Prabhupada writes, the mode of passion in this world is basically characterized by the attraction between man and women. Man has attraction for women and women has attraction for man. That is the cause of bondage, basic cause of bondage in this material world. Pumsa striya maithuni bhavam etat tayor mitha hridaya granthi mahu ato griha kshetra sutta apta vittai janasya mohoyam aham mameti. So because of the attraction between man and women, the so many things come out. Tayor mitha hridaya, first of all, the granthi, hridaya granthi, the attachment for material world becomes strong. Then after getting married, one should have a house. Then after house, children will come. Then property, bank balance, then relatives, then car, so many things. Everything arises by the mode of passion. And Prabhupada writes, in the modern civilization, the standard of advancement is how much one is in the mode of passion. Formerly, the standard of advancement was if somebody is in the mode of goodness, he is considered to be advanced. Now, the standard of advancement is if somebody is in the mode of passion, he is advanced. The more one works, the more he is advanced person. Just like in time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the craze was debates, all intellectual work. People would come, just like nowadays in the craze is cricket. There is a whole stadium, big stadiums. People are eager to see cricketers playing cricket. Similarly, in earlier times, this type of craze was for debate. So therefore, the definition of success has changed over the period of time. People in the mode of goodness, for them, what is the definition of success? Definition of success is how much knowledge he has, how much wisdom he has, how much freedom from sin he's, how much free he is from sinful activities. That is the success for a person in the mode of goodness. Success for a person in the mode of passion is how much power he has. And it does not matter how he gets that power. If some president of the state, he can administer the things properly, it does not matter what is his character. Does not matter. He may do all wrong things. Till the time he is able to do administration properly, no problem. And mode of ignorance, the success is how lazy one can be, how much sleep one can take, how much he can avoid working. That is the success for the person in the mode of ignorance. So this mode of passion also binds. Then mode of ignorance definitely binds. Tamastu ajnanajam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramad alasya nidrabhi tannibadhnati bharata. So tamah, the mode of passion, ignorance increases, the mode of ignorance increases, and it is born of ignorance. And mohanam sarvadehinam, it deludes all the embodied living beings. And the result of this is, mode of darkness is pramad, alas and nidra, madness, indolence and sleep. Tannibadhanati bharata. So mode of ignorance is born of ignorance, that we should be clear. It is a perpetual cycle. First we act based on the ignorance, and then because we acted, it aggravates our mode of ignorance. For example, a person who is alcoholic, so one may take alcohol out of ignorance, but taking alcohol aggravates the ignorance all the more. So it is a cycle. So therefore, the person who is in the mode of ignorance, he becomes more and more ignorant. So that is what is described in this verse. And then in the 9th verse, Krishna summarizes. He says, Sattvam sukhe sanjayati rajah karmani bharata jnanamavritti tutamaha pramade sanjayatyuta. He says, mode of goodness gives happiness. Mode of passion gives rajah karmani bharata. Mode of passion gives rise to fruitive activities. And mode of ignorance gives rise to illusion. Jnanam avritya, the knowledge gets covered in the mode of ignorance. Now, Krishna describes that, there is always the competition between the modes. Rajah tamah cha vibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata tamah sattvam raja sattvam tamaschaiva tamah sattvam rajastata. Sometimes mode of goodness becomes prominent, sometimes mode of passion becomes prominent, sometimes modes of ignorance become prominent. So this makes one unsteady, because it is like you are being pulled by three ropes. Sometimes this rope is pulled harder, sometimes this rope. For example, now we are hearing this online class. So initially, before the classes begins, everybody is enthusiastic. Chalo abhi class sunenge. Wow, we have to understand Bhagavad Gita, all this philosophical discussion, very nice, good, good, good. This is mode of goodness. Now, as the class goes on, the mind starts telling, देख दिन भर बहुत काम किए है, you have worked whole day, working from home or working in office, you have done all the home घर का काम भी किया है, इतना सब किया है, and on top of that, now we have to hear all these technical details of Bhagavad Gita. Let's go to sleep. The mode of ignorance sets in. And then mind says, अरे यार, spiritual life is for relaxation. ये रिलैक्सेशन की जगह और टेंशन दे रहे हैं प्रभु जी, तो क्या क्या बता रहे हैं भगवत गीता में, इतना सब सुन के क्या करना है, छोड़ो यार, एनीवेज मेरे को वही करना है, अपना चैंटिंग ही करना है, मतलब सेवा ही करनी है. That is how the mode of passion is increasing. Restlessness, one becomes restless. So these modes are always acting, just like when we get up in the morning, नहा धो के बैठे chanting के लिए, mode of goodness. Immediately after 10-15 minutes, 2 rounds are gone. Immediately, from directly to the mode of goodness, we are in the mode of ignorance. So that is how these modes are always fighting, struggling amongst themselves. So that's how we have to understand this. There is a constant fight between the modes, and many times this mode of goodness and mode of ignorance, they look similar. For example, if there are two people sitting, when problem comes and two people are silently sitting, one may be contemplating on how to solve the problem, other may be sitting and trying to postpone doing anything and feeling lazy. अरे ठीक है यार, सो जाते हैं थोड़ा. Other example, in a class, there are two people who are sitting very silently and hearing. There are two possibilities. One may be contemplating and trying to understand what he is hearing. Other may be preparing to sleep. He is on the verge of sleeping. एकदम ध्यान से आँख खोला है, आँख खुली है उसकी, but still he is एकदम silent, steady. That means now he is going to sleep. So one is in the mode of goodness, other in the mode of ignorance. So there is a constant battle which is going on. Then from 11th to 13th verses, Krishna says, what happens when a particular mode increases? So when the mode of goodness increases, what happens? Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakash upajayate jnanam yada tada vidyad vivriddham sattvamithyuta. Person in the mode of goodness, he can see things as they are. He knows how things work, which all things to accept, which all to reject. He knows what is to be done at what time. Jnanam yada tada vidyad vivriddham sattvamithyuta. So by the knowledge, he knows things properly. Person in the mode of passion, his qualities, when this increases, what happens? Lobha pravrittir arambha karmanam ashamaspriha rajasyetani jayante vivriddhe bharatarshabha. Lobha, pravritti and arambha. So lobha means great attachment. Arambha means fruitive activity. Karmanam ashamah spriha, intense endeavor and uncontrollable desires they develop. The person in the mode of passion always wants more. Dil mange more, that is the mode of passion. Aur chahiye, aur chahiye, aur chahiye. I am not satisfied with this. So lobha is the primary characteristic of passion. Means more and more and more. When this lobha is directed towards things, it becomes greed. And when this lobha is directed towards people, it becomes lust. So therefore, we have to understand this passion is characterized by the one prominent quality of lobha, greed. Greed for things or for opposite gender. So some may say, but are the modes the matter of disposition or matter of imposition? Disposition means ये मेरा nature ही ऐसा है. By nature I am lusty. By nature I am angry. Or it is because of imposition. Imposition means external pressure. Disposition means inclination. I am naturally inclined towards those things. So actually it is both. So the modes, they act both ways based on our inclination and based on the environment in which we are in. For example, some people, they surround themselves by in the situations which will make them more lusty. They'll see obscene movies. They will go to those places which will increase the lust. They'll see. So that is the mode of passion increase. Some people, they'll see lots of advertisements, increases the greed. So it is a matter of imposition also. So the more we are putting ourselves in a particular surrounding, the more that mode will become prominent. So that is what we should know. And this mode of passion, it increases with desire, and it increases in three things: increases in intensity, increases in quantity, and increases in frequency also. For example, every time a person who is an alcoholic, every time he drinks alcohol, the desire, the intensity of the desire to drink alcohol increases. That is the intensity. Every time he drinks alcohol, the quantity which he wants to drink increases in quantity also. And the more he drinks alcohol, the frequency in which he is drinking alcohol increases. So therefore, we have to understand the passion means greed. Or chahiye, or chahiye, or chahiye. And in today's world, it is primarily in the mode of passion. People are working whole day. In Japan, there is a phenomena called workaholism. Every year, almost 1,000 people, they die working. At least it was the case few years back. So people are working whole day. And then when the mode of ignorance increases, what happens? Aprakasho pravrittischa pramada moha evacha rajas tamasyetani jayante vivriddhe kurunandana. So when the mode of ignorance increases, what happens? Aprakasha, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion. Four things increase. Pramad and moha, madness and illusion, they increase. And then after this, Krishna describes what happens if somebody dies in a particular mode. So 14th and 15th describes the long-term effect. What happens if somebody has cultivated a particular type of mode throughout his life. Yada sattve pravriddhe tu pralamyati dehabhrit tadottama vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. The mode of goodness people, they go to heavenly planets. Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate. Those people who are in the mode of passion, they remain in the earthly planetary systems. And those who are in the mode of ignorance, they go to the lower species of life. Mudha yonishu jayate. Then 16th verse, Krishna says medium term effects. Karmana sukritasyahu satvikam nirmalam phalam. Result of pious action is pure, and it is in the mode of goodness. Rajasastu phalam dukkham. Action which is done in the mode of passion brings misery for sure. Krishna has told it again and again in the Bhagavad Gita. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayonaya evate. Sense gratification leads to misery. Again here, rajasastu phalam dukkham, mode of passion leads to misery. Ajnanam tamasa phalam, mode of ignorance leads to foolishness. Then he says Sattvat Sanjayate Jnanam. Sattvat, mode of goodness, leads to real knowledge. I read somewhere people with realize, real lies. So one word has three meanings. People with real eyes. Real eyes means eyes of knowledge. Real eyes realize. They understand. Real lies. Real lies means the lies which this world is telling us that we can be happy. So Sattvat Sanjayate Jnanam, person in the mode of goodness, he sees things as they are. Rajaso Lobha Evacha, and the mode of passion brings greed. Pramad Moha Tamaso Bhavato Jnanam Evacha. Mode of ignorance increases illusion. And then he gives the overall journey, overall direction. What happens? Those who are in the mode of goodness, they go to higher planetary systems. Those who are in the mode of passion, they stay in the middle planetary systems. Those who are in the mode of ignorance, they go to the lower planetary systems. Then after describing this, Krishna describes how to transcend these modes. इससे बाहर कैसे निकलना है? And then he explains his own position. He says, नान्यं गुणेभ्यः कर्तारं यदा दृष्टानुपश्यति गुणेभ्यश्च परं वेत्ति मद्भावं सोऽधिगच्छति. When one properly sees that in this world these modes are acting, that person actually sees and he attains my nature. He understands that everything in this world is affected by and covered by the mode of this material nature. So therefore he is not bound by these modes and he attains the transcendental nature. And then he says, when one surpasses these modes, he can surpass the miseries also. Janma mrityu jara dukkhair vimukto amritamashnute. He becomes free from this janma mrityu jara vyadhi and attains nectar even in this life. So this amritam ashnute Krishna has used many times in Bhagavad Gita. And how does one attain this eternality? By understanding that our actual position is beyond this material world. We are not this body, we are soul. And then Krishna, after describing this, Arjuna, he asks, what are the symptoms? What is the behavior of such type of person who has transcended the modes? And how can one actually transcend the modes? So based on this, Arjuna asks a question, and which we will take tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. If anybody has any questions, they can put on the chat. Sankhya means knowledge of composition of material body, or it's an analytical knowledge about the Supreme Lord. So there are various types of philosophers who have described Sankhya in different ways. So basically, Sankhya means understanding this material nature. The purpose of Sankhya philosophy is to become detached from this material nature. For example, I had given this example. If you see a gulab jamun and you feel attracted, like to eat, your mouth is watering. But if some, and this gulab jamun is made up of what? The ingredients are maybe wheat or flour, then some sugar, then ghee. So these are the ingredients. But if you keep these ingredients in front of you and you give gulab jamun, which will be attractive? Of course, gulab jamun will be attractive. Who gets attracted to atta, dal, unless they are cooked properly? So that is the purpose of Sankhya philosophy. When we see this material world with so many beautiful manifestations, we get attracted. But the Sankhya yogi, Jnana yogi, he analyzes, okay, this body is made up of elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And who gets attracted to all these things? So the result is one will be detached from this material world. Then Prabhupada writes in the purport, the purpose of Sankhya is to find the root of material world, and purpose of bhakti is to water that root. So in the process of analyzing this world, he understands that there are 24 elements. From where these elements are coming from? These elements are coming from the Supreme Lord. Okay, so that is also one element. Then he understands, oh, this super soul is the source of all this material creation. Then he starts rendering service to the Lord. So that is the purpose of Sankhya philosophy. If Arjuna would have observed super soul in Kauravas, he would have not killed them. And if he would have followed Prakrityeva cha karmani, he should not be killing. See, we should understand that when Krishna is describing all this philosophy, the purpose of this philosophy is Krishna wants Arjuna to establish the principles of religion. Therefore, it is up to Arjuna to follow or not. And Krishna wants to give credit to Arjuna because 11th chapter Krishna described that I have already killed them, you just take the credit. Nimit matram bhavasavya sachin. So the Arjuna is already a pure devotee. He knows all the philosophy, but for time being he gets bewildered because of the will of the Lord. He knows that super soul is there in everyone's heart. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. If we know these things theoretically, why Arjuna will not know? So Arjuna knew everything, but he acted because he wanted to fulfill the will of the Lord. If he would have followed Prakrityeva cha karmani, he should not be killing. No, that is not the case. So the understanding behind this Prakrityeva cha karmani means everybody has a particular nature. That Krishna is telling again and again in Bhagavad Gita. In 3rd chapter also Krishna says, Sadrasham cheshtate swasya prakriter jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraham kim karishyati. Everybody is forced to act according to his nature. What can repression accomplish? This verse can also be taken in another sense. Anyways, I am going to do all these wrong things. Why to stop my desires? Actual meaning of this verse is everybody has a particular nature which is born because of previous life's actions, and one cannot stop working in that way. A person who has a Brahminical tendency, he will work in that way. He can sit at one place and hear and read Bhagavad Gita, scriptures, Vedas whole day. But he cannot do a job of a Kshatriya. So in that sense, it is our nature which is acting. So there also I described, there are two things, our Swabhava and our Vasana. Swabhava is what Krishna is talking about in these verses. Our Swabhava can never be changed. We can never follow other person's nature. If we have a particular liking for reading scriptures, and if somebody tells us you go and do fund collection, we'll not be able to do it. If we have a liking to do management, and if somebody tells you sit at one place and you study, we won't be able to do it. So this prakriti which Krishna is talking in this whole Bhagavad Gita is our nature which cannot be changed. And of course Krishna talks about this vasanas also in the this 3rd chapter, that these vasanas have to be purified. We have to purify our anarthas by understanding this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Can you please share the slide of 14.18? Okay, I'll share. This 13.18. Okay. So 13.18 is which verse number? Jnanam Geyam Jnanagamyam. Okay, I'll share that slide. How to rise to the mode of goodness from ignorance. So basically, The process of Krishna consciousness is the best way, as we'll discuss tomorrow, how to transcend these modes. And Krishna very clearly says, the only way to transcend these modes is the practice of bhakti. Mam chaya avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So the process of devotional service is so very powerful that we not only rise to the mode of goodness, we can even transcend the mode of goodness and get situated in the mode of transcendence. Only thing is, we have to be committed to this process of bhakti. So that is in short. We'll discuss more on it tomorrow. Most of us have some basic rajoguna. Since we have responsibility of family, what is the path for us? See, uh, everybody has a particular nature and we have to act according to that nature. Every action requires particular type of mode. Just like, for example, sleeping requires mode of ignorance. If somebody says, no, I don't want to be in the mode of ignorance, so I'll not sleep. There is a basic level of modes, these modes which are required to function in this world. That's why they are there. The problem happens when a particular modes become more prominent. If somebody says, oh, mode of nature, mode of ignorance, yeah, sleep, I'll sleep more, Just like when Ram and Lakshman were there with Vishwamitra Muni, Vishwamitra Muni was not able to sleep because goodness personified, transcendence personified, Lord Ram is there, who will get sleep? So basic level of Rajoguna, basic level of Tamoguna is required to live properly in this world. When we are taking care of the family responsibilities, it is required to have some Rajoguna, and Dharma Viruddha Bhuteshu Kamosmi. Krishna says, I am the sex life which is not against the Vedic principles. So basic Rajoguna is required to function properly in this world. Basic Tamoguna is required to function properly. Problem starts when a particular mode increases much more beyond proportions. That is what we have to take care of. When some things is destined, then how does free will act? Okay, so that is also a very interesting question. As we say, nothing happens without the will of the Lord. That is there. So we should know that our destiny is already written, but everybody of us, we have a free will, and Krishna never interferes in the free will of a living entity. For example, and we can change our destination by misusing our free will. If, for example, if somebody takes a flight from here to Delhi, and in the middle of the air he thinks, so just because of boarding the flight, he is bound to reach Delhi. In the middle of the flight he thinks, मजा नहीं आ रहा है, शांति से बैठा हूं मैं इधर, कुछ करना चाहिए, थोड़ा कूद जाते हैं इधर से. So by destiny he was supposed to reach Delhi. He misused his free will. So because of that, he will not be able to reach Delhi. So therefore, our destination, our fate is already written. But with our free will, we can change that destiny. If we take to the process of Krishna consciousness, for sure our destination will be changed. And if we act in a wrong way, if somebody commits suicide beforehand, if somebody is about to live for 80 years and he commits suicide at 50 years, so 30 years he has misused his free will. He was about to live for 30 more years, so he has to suffer, he has to become ghost. So that's how some things are destined. Everything is destined, but we have our free will and we can misuse our free will to change that destination. It's like that, and we can discuss more later on this topic. Is modes of material nature has any relationship with past karma? Yes, as I discussed today also, we acquire a particular type of mode of nature. One mode is prominent based on our previous life's activities, our swabhav. Our swabhav is determined by our previous life's activities, our previous life's desires. As it is said, we are dressed for and dressed by our desires. Chaitanya Charamparam says this wonderful statement. We are dressed for and dressed by our desires. I'll explain it. Whatever desires we cultivate in our past lives, material nature provides a particular body. We are dressed for fulfilling a particular type of desire. Somebody wants to eat non-vegetarian, he'll be given a body of an animal, a lion, so that he can fulfill that desire, dressed for. And in current body, whatever desires we cultivate, so these laws of karma, they are only for humans, because we are the only intelligent people who break the laws. None of the animals, they break the laws of karma, laws of nature. So they are helplessly following the laws of nature. We are the only one who can create karma, and we are the only one who can destroy our karmic reactions also by the process of bhakti. Karmani nirdhati kintu ja bhakti bhajan. So the types of conditionings we cultivate in this life, in the next life we will have that type of body, that type of swabhava. If somebody is so much lusty in this life, in the next life also he will have a mode of passion very, very prominent. If somebody is always sleeping in the mode of ignorance, next life he will be having same conditionings, same impressions, like that. In 13th chapter you said soul is not entangled. I did not understand, because the body remains behind. It is the soul who gets results, good or bad, through another body. I'm trying to understand the question. Soul is not. See, soul as the property of soul is Satchit Ananda. Soul is, so actually soul gets entangled and covered by the modes of nature also. It is not that soul is not entangled. Soul gets covered. The actual nature of the soul is Satchidananda, but based on the conditionings we have, based on the desires we cultivate, and based on the actions we do, the soul gets covered by those conceptions, those impressions, and that results in taking the next birth. So when soul comes from the spiritual world to the material world, soul is pure, but there is a process. What happens when the soul comes in this material world? First, the layer of false ego covers the soul. Second, as the false ego is covering the soul, then the layer of mind and intelligence comes in. That forms the subtle body. After the subtle body is made, then the desires come in. To fulfill the desires, you need a gross body. Then the gross body comes. Gross body covers the soul. So that is how the soul gets covered by the thick layer of ignorance in the form of false ego, mind, intelligence, and the material elements. And the type of activities the soul does, based on that activity, the soul gets entangled more and more. And if it takes to the process of spiritual life, Krishna consciousness, he will be freed from this entanglement more and more. If everybody is bound to do what have decided as per previous life, then we cannot take all of them to one direction to attain Krishna consciousness, or how this goal can be achieved. See, as I said, this concept of free will. Everybody is bound to follow the particular way, but everybody has a free will, and if they use their free will to take this to this process of Krishna consciousness, their direction will change, and that is possible. And that is the job of devotees, to change the lives of people, to give them a chance to come closer to Krishna. We have another way, or we have to accept people as they are and do not try to change, which is for higher person. I just said that everybody has a free will, and if we try to give them Krishna consciousness by making them favorable to Krishna, then their direction can change, like that. A person who always procrastinates things and fails to complete his to-do list within a specified time, he is in which mode? How to come out of it? So if somebody is procrastinating, that means it is in the mode of ignorance. That's the mode of ignorance. Always procrastinates. Pramad alasya nidrabhi. So one of the words, also the word is procrastination. I'm not able to remember the exact word. So that is the mode of ignorance. If always he keeps on, okay, बाद में करेंगे, अभी mood नहीं है. Postponing, postponing is a particular character of mode of ignorance. And the way to come out of it is, be with those people who are in the mode of goodness, and secondly, avoid sense gratification, because what distracts us from doing things, what distracts us from being determined. Krishna said in second chapter, bhoga aishwarya prasaktanam taya paritachetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhau na vidhiyate. So vyavasayatmika buddhi will not come if we are attached to sense gratification and opulent things in this world. So that takes us away from being determined to do things, because mind is attached to sense gratification. It is like, the story of the marriage party going on the other side of the river, but the anchor was on. So that is how stop, decrease sense gratification, be with those people who are determined. Association can do wonders, like that. Is the person who is at the stage of nishtha in devotional service above the modes of material nature. Till the time one reaches the stage of bhava, the modes of material nature does not go. Only at the level of bhava and prema, one becomes free from this entanglement of the modes of nature. That we can discuss more in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we are planning to discuss after Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.